Support for Arkansas Week provided by the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, the Arkansas Times, and KUAR FM 89.
Hello again, everyone. Thanks very much for being with us. Nobody is happy with fuel prices or mortgage rates or the cost of milk, for that matter. But Arkansans could be a lot unhappier than they are, bad as they might be for many of us. Could it be that the situation won't become significantly worse? In other words, could inflation have peaked? The economic outlook for Arkansas from a pair of our pros in a few moments. But first, and speaking of fuel prices, a reckoning of sorts for a major supplier of natural gas in Arkansas. Tens of thousands of Summit utility customers were stunned by not only the increase in their monthly bill, but how that bill was computed. Enter the state's chief legal officer on that issue and some others, which we will discuss now with Attorney General Tim Griffin. General, thanks very much for coming in, making yourself available.
Thanks for having me.
Well, let's start with natural gas. Where is the situation now? You have been in contact, obviously, with senior officials at Summit. What can you tell us at this point? Are you satisfied with what's been done so far?
Well, no. I think we still have questions. I still have questions, but I have spoken directly with the CEO. I have his cell phone and have had it for some time, and I've called him directly, spoken with him at least twice about this issue, and one of his senior executives as well. They have said as much that they got some stuff wrong. They sent these letters out. The recent bill you received is incorrect. The question that I think a lot of us had is what exactly did they get wrong, and how are they going to make it right? Now, they've assured me that that no Arkansan is going to pay for any gas that they didn't use. You're only going to pay for what you use, which is all we can ask. But what I wanted to do is figure out by looking at real life bills from my neighbors, from other people who have bombarded me with questions, and rightfully so. I wanted to figure out, what are some of the factors? And the company says we had a data processing era transitioning to the new computer system. That's what the company says, and I believe that. They sent out a lot of estimated bills instead of actual, which was a mistake.
That seems to be the rub in a great many of these cases, doesn't it?
It is. I've got some real life examples here. So in some instances, I can explain a lot of the bump, but I can't say for certain that the different factors, the number of days the bills cover, the price increase, the usage increase, I cannot say that in every case that explains the difference and the frustration. And so we're just going to stay on this until we make sure that everybody completely understands their bill. Let me give you a couple examples.
Well, quickly, okay.
Yeah, go ahead. So this is a bill for $326.89 that this person got in December. It was for November into December. Then they got a bill for $555.65. So it went from $326.89 to $555.65. Now in this instance, we started looking. So the amount they used, and that I'm assuming that is correct. If that's incorrect, that'll have to be, then that's the meter reading, right? We have to assume this is correct. So it goes, at least for the purpose of this, that goes from 166 to 279. So that's a significant increase. This is a big deal here. This bill covers 28 days, the lower bill. The higher bill covers 34 days. Okay? So you're talking about a week more included in the second bill. So when you look through them, some of them are for the same number of days, some of them are not. Some of them reflect a massive increase in usage because of the cold spike. Some of them do not. So here's what I can say. We're going to make sure that everybody not loves their bill, because I don't think anybody loves their bill, but we're going to make sure that no Arkansan pays for gas they didn't use. And there's been some talk of Ukraine and how that bumped the prices and all that. That may explain a year increase or a longer term increase. That does not explain a month-to-month spike.
Would it not be better? Or have you considered referring this over, working jointly with the PSC staff? This is usually their bailiwick.
Yeah. So what we're doing is gathering all the facts that we can gather, and we are using the resources we have to communicate with the public in a way that maybe the PSC doesn't. The PSC, you're right, statutorily has responsibility if there's something that they want to investigate here to pursue that part of it. But we're doing all that we can so that we can communicate with them our findings. I'm not only going to do it in a formal way, but I'm on television a lot telling everything that I'm learning.
All right, if I can move to another issue now, and that's prisons and corrections. You're on the record, General, as advocating a significant increase, anyway, in our bed capacity for the Arkansas Department of Correction. We haven't seen any particulars yet. Can you fill us in? What do you know? We haven't seen the legislation yet.
Yeah, so...
And you've been working with the legislative team.
Absolutely. So, first of all, I'd like to say that anyone who says we can either have prisons or we need to do this over here is creating what we call a false choice. It's all the above. We have neglected prisons for decades, right? And I will say this, we've been building prisons from a practical standpoint without actually physically building them. What do I mean? We've been pushing, we collectively, the state, have been pushing violent felons into the county jails. So we in effect have been expanding the prisons over the last so many years in the worst possible way.
Well, in two ways, though. I mean, we've built quite a few beds over the last decade, have we not? Certainly the last. We
haven't had a massive expansion in about 20, a significant expansion about 20 years. But what has happened is we've killed misdemeanor justice. We've taken misdemeanor justice from the criminal code because we have filled up the county jails with felons that belong in the prison, and the county sheriffs will tell you, people who commit misdemeanors know it's highly unlikely they're going to end up in jail. So get to the numbers and to your question. If you just fixed the corruption, so to speak, of the process that puts all these people that belong in state prison and county jails, if you just fix that and take those felons and put them in prison, that's 2,000 beds, period. Okay, so that's just to get the system back the way it was intended. Okay, so that's not adding any really. Then there's growth. Well, forget growth for a second. We've been releasing hundreds, over 1,000 every year, emergency release by the governor. So that's at least another 1,000 just to bring us up to date with no growth. That's 3,000. A lot of people don't understand that. So these are people that are already being either housed in the wrong place or released way before they should be. And they're not people who wrote hot checks, stole some candy, and smoked a joint. Those people aren't in state prison. We are at capacity. So the people that end up actually in state prison, they're doing far worse. So those are being released. To fix that's 3,000, and then for growth over the next 10 years, probably 2 more thousand. That's how I got to the 5,000.
Okay, what is powering this growth? Our rate of incarceration in Arkansas is significantly high, is it not?
Well, here's the problem. We are incarcerating the same people over and over and over again, and because they don't serve much time. I have an example of a guy that got 144 months. I believe it was for maybe I think it was second-degree murder. In any event, he ended up doing 24 months, if I remember correctly. Anyway, the bottom line is people are serving a mere fraction. And here's the other problem. When they return to their community, actually I believe that was a sexual assault. In any event, when they return to their community, they generate and foment more of this activity. The federal system, on the other hand, instead of having a default of you get 10, you're out in 2, which is our system, in the federal system, if you get convicted, you're serving 85% minimum. If you don't behave, you're serving 100. So the police chief in Wynne, Arkansas told me, when we arrest people for serious drug trafficking, what have you, the first question they ask is, am I going federal or state? State, they laugh. Federal, they cry. This is, when you tell law enforcement this, they go, yeah, we hear that all the time. Because the state is going to let you out quickly, and the feds are going to make you do your time. Well, we got to fix that.
Do we just have more serious, violent offenders in Arkansas? More,
well,
because you're talking about recidivism, but I mean, we get the numbers, the raw numbers keep increasing.
Yeah, look, it is not. I was reading a book about the 19th century in Arkansas not long ago. It is not news that we have had historically more violence than some other states, but this is not a new thing. And we need to continue to deal with that. But in the meantime, while we're working on rehabilitation, and I've been on the board of Pathway to Freedom, a prison ministry. I've led worship at Wrightsville Prison. I believe in rehabilitation with the appropriate training and programming. And we've got our recidivism through Pathway to Freedom down from a state average of 54 to about 23%. But while we're doing that, my family and your family and everybody's family has still got to be kept safe while we're working on the long-term deal. And here's the thing. Governments are put together primarily, not for bike paths. Bike paths are great, but that's not why governments were put together. Governments were put together to keep the chaos out and to have an ordered society. And if government fails on keeping us safe, it has failed on a fundamental point. If you're not safe, you're not free. If I hear people all the time, I can't get gas at night because I don't want a gun to my temple. If you feel that way in a town, you're not free. You are not free. And we have got to incapacitate people who over and over again are a menace to our communities. Look, about a year ago, I started taking all the big stories from KATV and anything breaking on this station, whatever, and I started looking, who's committing these? And the number of parolees that were committing the violent crime in Arkansas was unbelievable. I have the spreadsheet, happy to share it with you. It took about a year to compile. But what we found was people who should never be released, including the guy that killed a correctional officer in Maumelle, they should never be released, and they're out running free. If it was the federal system, they would never be out. They would never be out. So we're working on that with an eye toward more rehabilitation for nonviolent, more mental health help, all of that stuff. It's not either or, it's all the above.
And I have to end it there, General, because we're out of time. Will you come back again?
Anytime.
You got it.
Thank you.